everyone, and welcome to another edition of Impact 365. I'm Tiara Fair, your Impact 365 series host. Impact 365 is a production of United Way of Delaware in partnership with DETV. In this ongoing series, we'll see how United Way of Delaware and its partners make a positive impact across our state. We'll talk with old friends, and we'll make new friends too. We'll see what's working well, and we'll take a look at how to make things better. Today on Impact 365, we're talking about Stand By Me, the financial coaching program that's helping hundreds of Delawareans get a grip on their finances. Whether you're young or older, trying to improve your credit, save for college, qualify for a mortgage, or just worry less about money, Stand By Me offers free, confidential advice to help you reach your goals. We'll have some great guests on today to walk us through Stand By Me, but first, I cannot go on without welcoming my co-host for this show, Laura Jandro, Director of Financial Empowerment at United Way of Delaware. Say hi to the people, Laura.
Hi, Tiara. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Impact 365. We live in tough times, but I've seen firsthand how Stand By Me changes lives for the better. Nobody has to go it alone. If you need someone in your financial corner, Stand By Me is there for you. And the best part is we are absolutely confidential and absolutely free.
That's beautiful. It's great to have you here, Laura. I know Stand By Me is your jam. But before we get to talking about it with our guests, let's watch a short video highlighting some of our Stand By Me partners.
And what we've discovered is a lot of our residents in Delaware not only have a lot of insecurities that they come to us about, which is food insecurities, employment instability, and a variety of other things, but in addition, just how to manage finances. So that's really what financial instability looks like in Delaware.
Most people aren't taught or aren't given the resources to manage their finances from the very beginning. And it's important because it impacts every part of your life.
Some people have lost their jobs. Some folks, their health has been dramatically affected. They've had people die in their family. These are folks that had dreams and aspirations, and now they have to start over again. Who do you go to? Who do you call?
Wow, Laura, was that inspiring or what?
For sure, Tiara. It's always gratifying to see what can happen when someone takes charge of their financial situation. Reaching your financial goals is never easy, but with the help of a good plan, plenty of determination, and the support of a Stand By Me coach, most people can and will stay on a path to financial empowerment. Here with us today to explain more about Stand By Me are two financial coaches, Jude Luskevich of West End Neighborhood House in Wilmington and Janet Clark-Peterkin of Bankrupt Stubbs Schools. Welcome to Impact 365.
Thank you. Yes, we're so happy to have you guys here. Thank you so much for making the trip. You know, we can't go in person a lot, so this is like one of the in-person things, so we get to see and talk to you guys. Thank you so much. You know, when we're talking about Stand By Me, one of the first things we start to talk about is just what does financial instability look like throughout the state? And does it look different from Wilmington to Milford to, let's say, Selbyville?
So I think that throughout the state, there can be some differences. There are different people in different areas that may be struggling with things specific to their geographic location. Yeah. But the reality is that financial stability is something that impacts all people, and the inability to manage finances is something that, you know, is across all populations and all geographic locations. So at one point or another, most of us do struggle with our finances, and that's where a program like Stand By Me can come in to help statewide.
And you know what's crazy is that I think everyone has a different relationship with money. So no matter if they, you know, if you've grown up with a lot of money or you grew up with not so much money, if you were taught a lot, but what does financial freedom, like why is that part so important? What does financial freedom bring to people in general?
Financial freedom gives people options of, people not telling you what you need to do with your money. It gives you control of your own money. For example, like if you want to buy a car, you have options of not paying a high interest rate. Whereas if you are financially unstable, you have to pay whatever they tell you to pay. Yeah. So it gives you options. it opens up a whole new world for you.
And Janet, you specifically work at Bancroft and Stubbs School, so you're working with families. How does it affect children? So if their families are dealing or financially have this financial freedom, what does that mean for the children involved?
Well, it means that the children are socially, emotionally, and educationally, they grow more, you know, and also the family is actually setting an example for the child. So for the future, their future can be stable also once the family is financially stable and they have financial freedom.
That's beautiful. So tell us, Larry, you can jump in on this. Like, tell us what does the Stand By Me program look like? What does it consist of? What is actually Stand By Me actually?
Well, Stand By Me is a joint venture of the state and United Way. We are happy that we have recently celebrated our 10th year in providing services throughout the state of Delaware. Stand By Me prides itself in the fact that we have nearly 40 coaches statewide. Many of our coaches are bilingual, they're bicultural, so we're able to assist individuals not only where they are, but in the language that they feel most comfortable. And as I stated, all of our services are free, they're completely confidential. We really focus on 4 issues, which is the creation and increase of savings, successful budgeting, debt resolution, and credit improvement. We are dedicated to breaking the circle of generational poverty, and we are focused on changing the trajectory of those most vulnerable within our state. And the way to do that is by empowering and educating, and that's really what Stand By Me does.
That's awesome. So is Stand By Me just for people who would be considered low income? Is there an income requirement or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely not. Stand By Me is for anyone and everyone who has a goal in mind. So we work with everyone from those who have absolutely no income to people that have 6-figure incomes. And the thing that we find that's common across the board is that everybody needs somebody in their corner who can help them identify what those goals are and then talk about what steps they actually want to take to get there. So instead of the coach telling them, here's what you're going to do, the coach is listening to understand what does that path look like for you and what is it that you want to do to reach that goal.
Makes sense. So what is a typical financial situation that you've seen? I know it's confidential, so we can't name any names, but what type of financial situations do you all help with?
Well, especially working with the families of the students, one of the challenges some of them have would be housing, believe it or not. And it could be housing where they may be staying with family or with a friend. And that creates instability because if they're not sure where they're going to be, it's instability for the children also, for the students. And it impacts their learning, their social condition. So it's really important for them to have housing, stable housing. And that's one of the challenges that we work with the families, to find them stable housing and to get them to a point where they can actually do it on their own, you know, so it helps the whole family. We believe by helping the family, the parents, the caregivers, the grandparents, we are helping the children also.
That's beautiful.
Jude, what are clients expected to do? What do you ask of them?
So really, we just ask that people show up and tell us where they are and what they've been doing and where they want to go. We try to make it as easy as possible and as conversational as possible. So when someone comes in for their first meeting with a coach, it's really just a conversation to get to know them, to understand what has been happening and what would you like to see happen. So we don't ask them to bring anything in particular for that first appointment. There's no, you must do this. It's really about understanding what it is that they need, and then we build an action plan from there.
How do you get around people not wanting to tell all of their confidential, personal information? Because usually the coach is a stranger, right?
Well, yes, they're strangers, but the reality is that once you can really sit down with someone and understand where they're coming from and build that trust, people tend to open up a lot and become willing to share their journey. And it's a process, right? So no one's going to come in on that first visit and necessarily share every detail.
Well, they might.
Sometimes Janet might be able to say that, but most of the time it's a process. It's a relationship that grows over time. And as that trust deepens, you get to get more and more of the layers peeled back to get to the root of what's really going on.
Janet, is there usually a time limit? So can they only be coached for a little bit of time, or like is it a month or 2 months or?
Well, it's as long as the client wants to be coached. So one of the things that I tell them is that it's up to them. They are the ones driving the whole thing. I'm here to support them on their journey. They just need to tell me what their goals are, and we work with their goals, what their strengths are, what their challenges are, and we work with that. So it can be for 6 months, it could be a year, but it's to the point of where they feel they have achieved their goal. And sometimes the goal is just making that first visit, you know, because some people are ashamed of their debt. And that's what we want to try to get. You don't have to be ashamed. There are so many people in debt. You're not the only one experiencing debt. And that's what we're there for. We're there to help you through. It's a process, a journey that you're going on. And we're there to help you through that journey.
So let's talk about confidentiality. I'm guessing that some people feel awkward about sharing personal information with a stranger. How does Stand By Me handle personal confidential information?
So everything that we do is confidential. Our coaches will not share any information that happens in the session, period. So people can come in, talk about exactly what's going on without any worry that they're going to be judged for it or that information is going to go anywhere.
So as we're wrapping up, tell me, how can somebody get a coach? They've heard all about it. They're like, okay, I'm in. I need some help and I'm ready to talk to someone. How do they get a coach?
So the easiest way to get a coach is to go to our website, which is www.standbymede.org, or to call 211. They can then find the coach that's appropriate for them in their area, because as we've mentioned, we have coaches throughout the state, and that's the easiest way to find the right person to work with you.
And both of you are coaches, so they could potentially get one of you, which is pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for talking to us, sharing your stories. And we will be right back in a moment to meet Angel Hernandez, a Delawarean whose financial life was turned around for the better, thanks in part to Stand By Me. But first, let's watch this short message. Welcome back, everyone. When he first came to Delaware from Puerto Rico, Angel Hernandez wasn't sure how he was going to get his finances straight, or even if he could afford to buy a house. Things weren't looking good. Then he sat down with a Stand By Me coach. Today, Angel has turned his financial situation around 180 degrees, and he's a homeowner. We're so lucky that Angel agreed to be with us today to share his personal story. Thank you, Angel, and welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Angel. How are you?
Good.
It is so good to see you, and understanding that you've had such an incredible voyage. It gives us an opportunity to go back and to ask you, how did you get here?
Well, when I was in Puerto Rico, I had my own interior construction company. I was very economically. I was very good. What makes this story fantastic, I would say, is that once upon a time, my weekly incomes would be $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a week.
Wow.
Okay.
And
Wait, we have to pause. That made you what? A millionaire? That made you?
I was up there.
Okay,
I was
that's
up there.
amazing.
I owned 3 houses, 5 cars. I had over $1 million in assets, and I was very stable. But with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of income, there's also a lot of spending. And there was a moment when a partner of mine fled off with $500,000, and that put me in a financial burden that I couldn't get out of. And I struggled to a point that I had to come here. And I came here in 2013, and I started working with the state of Delaware in 2014. And that's when, about a year later, that's when I met Laura. And I asked her about the program because I was curious. Out of curiosity, I asked, and she told me. And I was $30,000 in credit card debt and struggling to make ends meet. And Laura was very, very helpful, and she guided me. She guided me to a point where I raised my credit score. I got rid of my financial debt, and then we started this is something step by step, and you got to be willing, and you got to be willing to sacrifice. Absolutely. And I did it.
Yeah.
And that got me to a point where I was able to look and buy in a house, which I thought I would never, ever had the opportunity.
Well, Angel, first, let me get this straight. So, Laura, you were actually his financial coach. So how was it? Do you remember the first time you met Angel and what everything was happening?
Yes, I was Angel's financial coach, and we continued to work together. It was approximately, I think it was almost 5 years ago.
Yes.
And you walked into my office and you said, so tell me, what is Stand By Me? And we started to build our relationship. And from there, it was based on honesty, and it was a communication, I think, that we had between each other for him to be able to say earnestly, this is where I'm at, I need some help. Can you help me put a plan together? And then we worked together to create a budget and to talk about, what's coming in every month and what's going out every month. But he had mentioned early on that he really wanted to purchase a home in Delaware. And I kept that in the back of my mind as a future goal. And Angel did all the heavy work. All I did was shine a light and share with him some tools and resources. And with that, we were able to help him to achieve his financial security, where he is now as a homeowner and having a savings account and having an increased credit score. I'm very proud of the work that we've done and the work you continue to do.
Was it helpful that Laura so I assume that you guys were able to speak Spanish together. Was that helpful?
That was a plus.
Yes.
In all this, because I was born in Philly, and I left here when I was 15 years old, so I dominated by both languages.
Yeah.
That was to my advantage in the island,
okay,
because I would mainly work in the island with American companies.
Absolutely.
Only because I knew English. Absolutely. So, I lived the best of both worlds. and that helped me, to be able to, the things that I couldn't express clearly, I was able to switch. Okay, let me tell you this in English because I can say it better in English. But let me say this in Spanish because I can say it better in Spanish. And she was very helpful in that. Yes, that was a plus.
Were you nervous? Were you nervous when you first went in and started telling her about your finances?
Yes, because I thought I would never get out of the hole.
Okay.
it's very difficult when you get into such a, financial situation that you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And she inspired me to have hope. And we started and we just kept on going, and I kept on seeing results. Because the thing about this is, if you don't see results, you get frustrated. Yeah. But when you see results, well then, okay, let's keep on doing this, and let's keep on working on this, and we did it.
We did do it, and I think the common denominator in all of this is that Angel was focused on changing his current situation. Yes. And when you're dedicated to being part of the solution, then it's amazing the things that you can do. And Angel would come into my office and we would constantly be updating his budget, and he would say, listen, I was able to pay off this bill, and it reflected in his credit report. And so we were constantly seeing improvements, and it helped him. But as much as I helped him, he helped me in so many very different ways. And because I'm proud of the work that he did, and I'm proud that I was able to share the resources and knowledge I have, but along the line, he also taught me a thing or two. So it has and continues to be a pleasure to work with him. And I think one of our proudest moments was when he closed on his home. And to see him close on his home and get the keys to his home, that is not only a home for him, but for his grandchildren. I was honored to be a part of it, and I continue to be honored to work with him.
Angel, did you have financial coaching before? So you said you were
making. And there's one important thing that we need to say.
Yeah.
When I got here in 2013, my credit score was 329.
What?
I couldn't even get a bike.
Yeah. Could you go to McDonald's?
It was very difficult, and I was frustrated. Yeah. When I met Laura, I was very frustrated because I said, look, I can't get credit for nothing, Yes. And we started, and as things got going on, I got my credit score to a point where I could get a house.
Okay.
And it keeps going up, Yeah. And that it's satisfying. I feel when I had money, I didn't feel accomplished. Mm-hmm. And I made all this money, and I got big checks, and I wasn't accomplished. Now I work for the state. I'm on a strict budget because it's a bi-week pay.
Yes.
But everything is channeled, and I'm right. I'm good.
What's been the hardest thing for you, Angel? What do you think has been the hardest part of your whole journey with really changing your financial future?
Well, the hardest thing was getting to that point where I could, buy a house, and the budget is very important. I know right now I got all my payments set to pay the first day of the month, and the money's there. And Laura told me how to, save so the money could be there. Because there's one thing if you have to pay the first day of the month. Another thing is to have the money to pay.
Yes.
If you don't have it, you can't pay. So, and I have maintained that, I set up a goal. I said, I need to have $2,000-$3,000 in my checking account every month, and that's it. Okay. And I work for it. And they're there, and I'm able to, cover all my expenses.
I think having seen your growth from, beginning to now, and how committed you are to doing your budget. And I just remember those early days where you weren't so open with doing your budget, and it was kind of a give and take there. But to see you now pulling it out and looking at it and being conscientious about making those deposits into your savings account and making sure that the dollars are in there for those automatic payments. It is completely, from what I can see, changed not only the trajectory of his life, but the way that he conducts himself financially. And it's allowed you to be empowered. And I sit here and I'm so proud of all of the work that you have done and you continue to do, because it does make a difference. And I'm just so happy that here within United Way of Delaware and Stand By Me, we can really make a difference.
And everywhere I go, and like people ask me how I done it, and I said, Stand By Me. Oh. Stand By Me has helped me, and I have refer other people because it's outstanding. The work that they do for the community, and I couldn't ask for anything better right now, really.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you so much for sharing your story, being so vulnerable. And you all heard it right here that Stand By Me is helping people really turn their financial future around. Thank you all so much, and thank you for sharing your story, Angel. There are so many Delawareans who can take a lesson from your success. And I also want to thank our earlier guests. They were so amazing at telling about Stand By Me. Leaders like this is what makes Stand By Me a go-to program for Delawareans who want to make their money work harder for them. It's free and it's 100% confidential. And you can find more information about the program at www.standbymede.org or by calling 211 or 1-800-560-3372. Thank you so much, Laura, for being here with me and guest hosting. I had so much fun with you. Thank you for showing me and teaching us all about Stand By Me. This is a beautiful program that everyone should take advantage of.
Oh, thank you, Tiara, so much for allowing us to participate today. And thank you, Angel. And most of all, thank you, United Way of Delaware and DETV.
Awesome. That's a wrap for today's edition of Impact 365. If you haven't seen some of our earlier episodes, be sure to check the streaming file for shows about the state of education in Delaware, how United Way of Delaware is helping a generation of children learn how to read, and how Delaware Racial Justice Collaborative is working to knock down policies and practices that enable systemic racism in our state. And in an upcoming episode, we'll turn our attention to Delaware's Hispanic community for a special look at how this rapidly growing segment of our population is helping shape Delaware's future. I wanted to thank today's guests, and a special thanks to my co-host, Laura Jandro again. I'm Tiara Fair, and this has been Impact 365, television with a positive impact. Brought to you by United Way of Delaware in partnership with DETV.